The guest inherited a Cartier lady's wristwatch about 20 years ago from her uncle.
He inherited it from, I believe, one of his clients. He was a financial advisor in New York City, and she left it to him in her will, and then he passed it on to me.
The appraiser quickly identified that the watch was actually older than the guest believed, dating it to the 1920s rather than the 1950s. The piece exhibited Art Deco styling and Roaring Twenties origins, reflecting its historical significance as one of the earliest wristwatches. The case was made of platinum and adorned with rose-cut diamonds, which helped date it specifically to the early 1920s. While the bracelet currently on the watch was not original, the appraiser clarified that this did not significantly impact the value.
The bracelet on it's not original. That actually looks more like of the style of the 1930s through the 1950s. This originally had a black grosgrain silk ribbon.
The primary value of the piece lay in the head of the watch, referring to the main body without the band.
What do you think of the shape of it?
I like it.
It's called the tortue, which in French is a turtle. And so it looked a little like a turtle, they thought.
The watch bore French platinum hallmarks, confirming that it had been manufactured in Cartier's Paris workshop. Given the strong market interest in vintage Cartier watches, the value suggests it was.
Oh, okay.
But right now, I see this at $20,000 to $25,000.
Oh, very nice. Oh, I like that.
A guest brought a striking piece of pottery to the appraisal, explaining that her husband had purchased it online in 2009 for $1,500. The piece exhibited a beautiful glaze and was labeled Grand Feu on the base, along with a number.
This is a high-fired piece. Grand Feu means high fire. It's called Gres ceramics. G-R-E-S is Gres ceramics. And it means you can fire at a very high temperature, and consequently the glaze and the body mature at the same time in the kiln.
It originated from Grand Feu pottery in Redlands, California, and represented a short-lived yet highly significant chapter in American ceramic history. Grand Feu pottery was active only briefly, likely beginning in 1912 or 1913 and ending by 1916. This particular example featured a rare and highly desirable sunray glaze, composed of a flambé of 4 to 5 colors culminating in a cobalt blue base. The appraiser noted that in this piece the glaze had feathered beautifully, with uneven drips that still allowed the cobalt blue to shine through. Due to its outstanding quality, the piece was valued at
auction, I would estimate this for $10,000 to $15,000 on today's market. Yeah, and it could well bring more because it's really that good.
A guest shared the fascinating story of discovering a collection of vintage baseball cards in 1973.
We found them in the home that we purchased in 1973. We bought it at auction as a house and contents, and we paid $16,000 for the house. And in the process of renovating that place, we discovered these in a closet in this little tin, all secured inside of there with this little container of mothballs.
The appraiser confirmed that the cards were indeed part of the famous T206 series, issued between 1909 and 1911 by the American Tobacco Company. These cards were originally included in cigarette and loose tobacco packages, with 16 different brand names advertised on their backs. The collection, totaling 153 cards, mostly featured the Piedmont brand. The cards were in remarkably well-preserved condition, with vibrant colors despite some imperfections on the corners. The appraiser highlighted 2 examples of the highly sought-after Ty Cobb red portrait cards, part of the T206 series. Additionally, the collection included a Ty Cobb baton shoulder card, which was slightly more common and in moderate condition.
The other thing about the T206 is they have what's called the Big Four: the Honus Wagner, the Eddie Plank, the Sherry McGee, and the Slow Joe Doyle. You have one of them.
Okay.
The most significant discovery, luckily, was a Sherry McGee error card from the T206 series.
So in your card here, we see Sherry McGee is spelled wrong. His name was M-A-G-E-E, and they did correct that. So the current population count for the Sherry McGee error card is that there's about somewhere between 112 to 115 that have ever been graded. So it's easiest to attain of the Big Four, but it's still considered one of the Big Four because it was an error card that was corrected.
Altogether, the full set of 153 cards was estimated to be worth between.
You have 153 total. I would put a value on this at auction for the entire group of $45,000 to $65,000.
Very nice.
A guest appeared with a beautifully decorated porcelain jar that she had purchased for $5. The appraiser examined the piece and quickly identified it as being made by the Royal Porcelain Works in Berlin, Germany, known as the KPM factory. This identification was confirmed by the visible factory marks. a clear KPM stamp and a faint blue scepter mark above it, both authenticating its origin. The piece was richly adorned with hand-painted enamel decoration and elegant gilding. The lavish gold embellishments on the foot and lid were described as extra flourishes, not necessary for function but added for aesthetic refinement. Technically, the jar and its lid were crafted using slip casting, a common porcelain making process.
The painting is done by hand. All of the colors are painted in enamel, including the ground color. And then the gilding, that would be done as a kind of finishing touch. There's a lot of work gone into this object, very expertly done.
The appraiser noted the piece's excellent condition, emphasizing that it had been very well preserved despite its age. Given its maker, decorative appeal and condition, the auction value estimated was
Beautiful KPM vase, jar and cover would be between $1,000 and $1,500.
Not bad for $5.
a remarkable Tiffany Desk Set had been in the guest's attic for over 30 years. The items were authentic Tiffany pieces, though they came from two different eras in the company's history. The letter clip and paper knife, both made in the bookmark pattern, featured intricate cold-painted enamel decoration, an extra detail that would have increased the cost at the time. These two pieces were dated to around 1906, when they were produced under the original Tiffany Studios name, a period known for its refined, often Art Nouveau-style designs. In contrast, the letter holder was created later, around 1920 or afterward.
And the name of the company in the 1920s became Louis C. Tiffany Furnaces, Inc., and that's how it's marked on the bottom.
This piece reflected a shift toward Art Deco styling, which was far less common for Tiffany. Impressively, all three pieces were made of bronze with 24-karat gold finishes, a testament to Tiffany's commitment to high-quality craftsmanship. In terms of market value, the items were valued at
Gold finishes on these things. So in the retail shop today, we'll start with the paper knife. That would sell for between $200 and $300. And then the letter clip would sell for between $700 and $900. And then this is actually the most desirable piece, and this would sell anywhere from maybe $2,000 to $2,500.
Oh, wonderful.
A charming Van Cleef & Arpels butterfly brooch was displayed.
My parents had gone on vacation to Paris, I believe in the late 60s, and my father bought this for my mother in an antique store in Paris.
The piece had remained in the family and was now being evaluated for its origins and value. The appraiser confirmed that the brooch was indeed an authentic Van Cleef & Arpels creation and began by sharing a brief history of the prestigious jewelry house.
They started in Paris in 1906. They didn't get to New York until 1939. The company Van Cleef & Arpels is kind of born out of a marriage. You have Alfred Van Cleef.
Known for its whimsical, refined designs, the brand quickly gained popularity among celebrities and royalty, including icons like Elizabeth Taylor and Barbara Hutton. This particular brooch reflected Van Cleef's signature whimsy, depicting a butterfly crafted in a tiger's eye.
Incorporated into the 18-karat yellow gold, there's 12 round, brilliant cut diamonds. They weigh 0.25, which is 1/4 of a carat.
The wings of the butterfly had graceful curves that were mirrored in the gold structure.
You see how the stone is curved, so then they in turn, they curved the hardware in the back, the gold. And again, the antenna curve to follow the frame of the butterfly wings. We have here a sign of a quality piece. Instead of being a standard kind of catch, it's what we call a trombone clasp. This slide moves in and out.
Given its condition and desirability, the auction value suggested was.
This piece today at auction would be $4,000 to $6,000.
Very nice.
A guest brought in a silver crucifix adorned with micro-mosaics, carrying deep personal and historical significance.
I was in college, and a friend's elderly relative passed away. And so she and I and a friend went to go house sit in the house while they settled the estate. And while we were there, I noticed this cross. And I flipped it over, and on the back side, it has a taped message that says, "Blessed by Pope Leo." Pope Leo was...
The crucifix featured depictions of the four major basilicas of Rome and bore a Latin inscription.
And the crucifix is from the Holy Year, 1900. Every 25 years, the Catholic Church celebrates what's called a Holy Year, and it says Anno Santo, which is Holy Year in Rome.
The appraiser identified the crucifix as a micro-mosaic cross. crafted in the Vatican studios and made with tiny intricate tesserae to form the colourful designs. This confirmed its authenticity and date. Such items were sometimes referred to as modern Grand Tour souvenirs, echoing the 18th and 19th century tradition of travellers collecting fine keepsakes from important European cultural and religious sites. The appraiser emphasized the rarity and sentimentality of the piece, especially given its unique spiritual journey and personal story. Given the exceptional provenance, age, and craftsmanship, the estimated auction value was $2,000.
With the provenance and with all of the historical information, I would say you would almost certainly double the value to $2,000. But knowing that both popes blessed it and to have it come on Roadshow is a really lovely thing. So thank you so much.
Great, well, thank you.
A beautifully intricate brooch was brought in by the guest, belonging to her grandmother.
She was from Italy and then New York City in about 1907. My grandfather, who purchased it, was the maitre d' at the Waldorf Astoria. The Tiffany jewelers used to come in, and he got to talking to them and wound up at the store and picked out this piece of jewelry.
It was identified as an original creation by Louis Comfort Tiffany, made between 1905 and 1910. The brooch featured a cabochon moonstone with striking blue hues, likely sourced from Sri Lanka, which was renowned for producing high-quality moonstones during that era. The piece showcased intricate filigree work, created using a combination of soldering, piercing, and hand-twisting techniques in yellow gold and platinum. All of this was done by hand, reflecting the painstaking craftsmanship of the period. Importantly, the piece was signed Tiffany & Company on the reverse, confirming its authenticity. The brooch stood as both a cherished family heirloom and an extraordinary example of Louis Comfort Tiffany's artistry. The retail value estimated for the piece was...
If you had to replace something like that today in a retail setting, I'd say you'd have to spend around $18,000.
Whoa.
So it's a wonderful thing.
I had no idea.
It's a wonderful thing.
None at all.
A guest presented a remarkable and deeply personal display of artifacts from the Hindenburg disaster.
I inherited him from my father. He was a career naval officer, just happened to be stationed in Lakehurst, New Jersey on the infamous May 6, 1937, when the crash occurred.
The appraiser closely examined the impressive collection.
He was on the ground landing crew that day, running for his life, trying to get away from the heat and the crash site. He was very proud of the fact that he was there and able to help the survivors.
It included commendation letters from 3 major sources: the Governor of New Jersey, the United States Department of the Navy, and even the government of Germany in Berlin. There was also a photograph of the Hindenburg signed by all surviving crew members, given to the guest's father in gratitude for his assistance during the chaotic aftermath. Most striking were 2 rare physical relics from the crash: a piece of Hindenburg's skin and a charred remnant of the Nazi flag that had once adorned the airship. The appraiser explained that individual pieces from the Hindenburg had long attracted collectors, with even small fragments fetching hundreds of dollars. At auction, the appraiser estimated the collection would conservatively bring.
I would probably put a $20,000, $25,000 a value on it.
A guest brought in a remarkable pre-publication copy of Catch-22, one of the most iconic novels of the 20th century, written by Joseph Heller. This particular edition was a pre-publication review copy. These editions were not made to last, as the paper quality and design were basic, lacking the polish of the final published versions.
First of all, pre-publication copies, they don't send them out very much anymore because they email the books.
What elevated this book beyond most pre-publication copies was the personal inscription written by Joseph Heller himself. That personal connection to the author added considerable historical and sentimental weight, particularly for collectors.
Catch-22 is probably one of the classics of the 1960s. There are very, very few books in the English language where the title of the book has become part of the language.
While it was noted that some collectors might prefer first editions with dust jackets for aesthetic reasons, pre-publication copies were also in demand for their rarity and literary history. Because of the piece's excellent condition, direct link to Heller and personal inscription, the estimated value was...
In this case, this pre-publication copy, signed, retail, is a $3,000 to $4,000 book.
Really? Wow. That's amazing.
A guest brought in a beautiful and well-preserved set of 6 Lalique goblets.
My parents were given these for their wedding in 1954 from an old army buddy of my dad's.
The goblets were part of Lalique's 6 figurines pattern, designed in 1911 during René Lalique's Art Nouveau period. The appraiser explained that these goblets were made of molded glass with a grey patina, a design typical of the early mass production era at Lalique's Paris shop. These pieces were created to be both elegant and accessible, helping to popularize Lalique's work internationally during the early 20th century. The base of each goblet was signed R. Lalique, confirming that they were produced while René Lalique was still alive and actively involved in the company. The lack of post-war marked examples suggested the design ended by the 1940s, making these goblets relatively rare.
There was also a decanter, and there was also a vase in this pattern. And so you could mix and match if you wanted to purchase them, if you wanted to purchase as a set, or if you wanted to purchase things individually.
The appraiser noted that the original presentation box in which the goblets were stored added significant value. In terms of market value, the appraiser estimated the goblets would sell for.
At auction, these would likely bring between $3,000 and $5,000 today.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Awesome.
A guest brought in a rare bathtub he had purchased in West Reading, Pennsylvania in the late 1980s.
And this was in the basement over in the corner. And the lady explained that it had come from a hotel in downtown Reading years ago, and she and her husband salvaged it.
The appraiser confirmed the identification, noting that the tub was from the J.L. Mott Iron Works, a New York-based company. Structurally, the hub was crafted from porcelain enamel over cast iron. Moreover, it was surrounded by an oak frame and supported by brass or bronze duck feet. The unusual duck foot design added charm and thematic relevance to the piece.
On this end, we actually opened this piece up and we found a date of 1887, which helps us get an idea of when it's from. It is absolutely a great piece. J.L. Mott made wonderful Victorian pieces.
The appraiser noted that although Victorian style has declined in popularity, well-made bath antiques like this remain highly collectible. In terms of value, full-size J.L. Mott tubs can sell at auction for.
This one being a tad smaller, I would estimate at auction to bring between $3,000 and $5,000. This is a fantastic piece. I appreciate and respect the fact that you drug this into the Antiques Roadshow.
A guest shared the story behind a striking blue and white Spode platter they had acquired for under $20 while stationed in Baghdad, Iraq in 1998. The platter was a Spode Transferware piece titled Shooting a Leopard, part of a larger pattern series first introduced in 1909. The appraiser discussed the scene on the platter, noting that it reflected the attitudes of the British colonial period.
And if we look at the scene there in the center, we have both Englishmen and Indians in India on elephants, and they're on a hunt, and they're hunting a leopard. And there are dogs which have cornered the leopard in a tree.
While such imagery may seem gruesome by today's standards, the appraiser emphasized the importance of viewing it within its historical context. The platter was made using a transfer printing process, an affordable method used by Spode and other Staffordshire potteries to produce decorative mass-market ceramics. Despite being mass-produced, Spode's execution was considered among the finest of its kind.
1810, 1820, so they made this pattern for a very long time because it was very popular. Queen Elizabeth is said to have one of the largest collections of this particular pattern.
Oh, wow.
However, the appraiser pointed out that damage was a major factor affecting value. Considering the rarity and historical significance, the estimated retail value was.
With the damage, I would think that a retail value would be somewhere between $300 and $500.
Okay.